Oh my goodness. All right. All right, we are live here on site, on location at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And we always sit up here with like a nice table and chairs. But, you know, when I have Syracuse alumni here, and Rob and I have been together for almost 10 years of doing these broadcasts, I brought out the leather couches for Rob Carpenter, Robert Drummond, and Duke Pettijohn, and myself, Dan Tortora, here with you. So happy to be here on site, on location at the Wildcat, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, open 7 days a week. And we are here on the eve of Rutgers at Syracuse. So Duke, two Robs, how we doing? How's life?
Life is good. Life is good.
I'm trying to recover from last night. That's my process right now.
You're trying to recover?
Last night took a lot out of me from that celebrity game.
Yeah, now you guys played in the charity basketball game. So I saw Rob. Rob didn't have to put no jersey on. I was like, I know my man Rob. He's like, if y'all need a coach, I'm a coach. So
Rob was holding the mic. That was it. That was his job. Hold the mic.
Yeah, I like that. So you played?
I did.
Duke?
I played.
All right. So
we were on the winning team.
You're on the winning team. So who was on the team?
I was on Duke's team, so it was myself, Duke.
We had
Okay.
Nichols, Moten,
Okay.
Aisha, Hemingway,
Yes.
Okay.
Jamont Kynes, Will Hunter, and somebody else. Billy Owens was our coach.
Billy Owens was your coach. Okay.
And Coach Legat.
Zaris Sims.
Okay.
Zaris was on the squad too.
Zaris was there too?
Yep.
And then you said,
Felicia, yeah.
oh yeah, she was there too?
Yeah, Felicia was the assistant coach.
The one that everybody wanted to be coaching here.
Correct.
Yeah, she needs to be.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
I'm rooting for her.
I think everybody I've talked to has said that.
Because it makes sense. I mean, she's a alumnus.
Yeah.
She's a winner.
Yeah.
And she's right down the road. I mean, like,
Especially in Buffalo.
that's a no-brainer for me. I just don't. See
That's a
why.
no-brainer for everybody. I just don't get why it hasn't happened yet.
That's fair. Rob, you brought it up. I'm gonna go to you for a second here. What do you think? I mean, I think yesterday somebody said something to me. I think people that I didn't even know of her have said to me, "Why is she not here yet?"
I mean, it just makes complete sense from the simple fact that, you know, you're trying to get Syracuse back to a prominent prestige, you know, stage, you know, and what better way than to put somebody into your program who not only has ties to your program from being an inner city, you know, person who grew up in Syracuse and played at an All-American level, but someone who's actually going to have the first female athlete to ever have her name retired, you know, at the Carrier Dome. Oh, can't call it Carrier. My bad. You know, oops.
Yeah.
No, it's back to the Carrier now. It's okay.
What is it now?
It's a Carrier still.
It's not no Carrier, boy.
There was what?
It's not Carrier Dome no more.
Oh no, it's that on the web. They took it off the website. They put it back on the website.
Oh, that's
wow.
that's going to they don't want to face that lawsuit.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. You may not want to admit to the fact that you sold it for $1 million for, you know, rights forever. So they took it off. It was one of the. So I think it was the football thing. It just said Dome, and then basketball said Carrier Dome on the schedule. Now they both say Carrier Dome because they probably said to Carrier, yeah, you know, we're probably good on that. We're going to get somebody else, and they said, okay, well, we'll see you in court. You signed a lifetime thing to us.
They did?
Yeah.
For $1 million?
For $1 million back, that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money back then. So.
Yeah. You signed lifetime rights over. Rob will tell you. I have lifetime rights to Rob Drummond. So.
don't nobody got lifetime rights. you may not want that, brother. But anyway, back to Felicia. But it's just a perfect natural fit for somebody to actually come into Syracuse and be able to get this job and be able to reach out to the fingers. And by fingers, I mean just the context she has, you know, because with Felicia, you know, we all love her. We all respect her. We all understand who she is and what she's about.
Yeah.
We'd all support her and do whatever we can to see she's successful. I mean, we like Coach Q, but Coach Q isn't one of us. Felicia's one of us, and that's the big difference.
But it also makes sense to keep that continuity. That's built-in continuity. familiarity, you know what I mean? She come right in and keep that momentum.
Yeah.
But I guess pull up somebody on the staff will do the same thing, but not if they're not prepared for it.
Plus, she's a winner.
She's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at her record, wherever
Right.
she's gone. She's a
Yes.
winner.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't
That's
Syracuse
true.
want to have a local winner on their program?
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think it makes sense this year to move up Vaughn because of maybe timing.
Yeah.
And I like Vaughn, and I've known Q for almost a decade. I've known Vaughn for pretty much the same amount of time. So I think it would behoove them to have her ready. Like, they need to be having that background. Like when LeBron says he doesn't talk to, Anthony Davis, but he talked to him like 3 years ago. Like it would behoove them to be like, all right, Vaughn, you take it for this year, and then be like, hey, you ready? Like her contract
right.
should already be ready
Right.
to be signed.
No, I agree.
So you were out there last night. You got to see. So did you guys talk to her about that? Like, did anybody kind of say like, hey, we're all like, we all want to see you here?
I did.
Well, me and Drum were here when she was here. So,
Yeah.
we're classmates of hers. So
Yeah.
I know I did. I spoke to her, and that's not the first time I spoke to her about it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I said when I walked in last night, and she was one of the first people I saw, was, when you going to be coaching here?
What'd she say?
And she was like, we'll see. But
she's in Buffalo.
She's in Buffalo, and she has.
I spoke to her at the hotel, and she's like, I'm in Buffalo. I support the guy that's, what's his name?
Vaughn Reed.
Vaughn. She's like, I support him. He didn't ask for it, but that's the position that they're in. If they were to, come to me, come to her, I'm sure she would, be listening. But,
Yeah.
She's focused though. She's
still
focused on what she
supporting
has
the
to do
program
at
at the
Buffalo.
end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, she's at Buffalo. You got to do your thing there. But if your alma mater comes a calling, I can't imagine that you don't, at least take the phone call.
Yeah.
She knows that we all have her back
Yeah.
as far as that goes.
Yep.
Because everyone has said it. I mean, all the alumni that were there last night, I'm pretty sure everyone has said it to
Everyone.
her. Because we all talk about it.
Well, I think it's cool that that with all of this talk going on and with her being at Buffalo, that she came back for the event. Because coming back to the dome now with all this going on, I mean, it only fuels the fire.
I can see that.
Like that's smart. That's a
what's
smart
going
move.
on here? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a
Speculation.
local hometown legend. I mean,
Yeah.
remember, she's going to be the first female to ever have her jersey retired, at the Dome. And from a simple standpoint of her, not coming out publicly and saying that she would love to have the job at Syracuse, blah blah. It's just
Yeah.
she's got to be PC. She's a head coach of another Division I school someplace else, so she doesn't want to get it back to that school that she's actively seeking
Yeah.
a possible chance of. So she's got to be PC, and we all understand that. We all been
We get
involved with
that.
this game long enough to understand how the politics in sports works.
Yeah.
So I respect her for that. But deep down in her heart, who would not want to be able to sit here and coach their hometown college and university?
Right.
I mean, hell, if they offered me the head coaching job at Syracuse University, I'd take it in a heartbeat. For the simple fact that this is my hometown. This is where I was born and raised. This is where I grew up. I played college football here. The pride, the passion that that we play for as someone being from the city of Syracuse. It's definitely got to be eating her alive. But you know what? She has to say the right things, and I respect Felicia a lot for that.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you guys, because Rob, you just brought it up. And I know Dino's here now, but let's just say.
Here we're in this building.
No, they're not here right now. He's not here right now. However,
Cussed out.
Dino, if you look, Rob and I signed the Hall of Fame wall. We were one of the first. It's on the other side of here. We'll show it to you after.
Oh, okay.
So on the other side of this, Rob and I signed the Hall of Fame wall, and Danny, the owner here, Danny Tome, shout out to Danny. He said that he gave Dino, because Dino did a show here a week or so ago. He gave him the marker, and Dino had anywhere on the wall to go. Anywhere to sign. And Dino went over right under my name and Rob's name, and he signed his name there, and he put Orange is the New Fast. So just so you know, Rob, he chose to sign with us. So
And
wait. I do have to ask you this. Rob and I did a show going into the season, and I said they need to run the ball, and they need to run the ball, and they should probably run the ball, and I'd love if they run the ball. And they ran the ball 44 times, only threw 17 times in a win over Ohio by 20, 283 yards on the ground. As a team, rushed for 6.4 yards a carry. Tommy, 7 yards a carry. My man Sean Tucker, 7.2, 181 yards, most ever in a single game, and fourth time he's gotten at least 100 yards on the ground. So I said to Rob, they need to run the ball, and Rob kept saying, the political answer said, you got to ask them. So they did it, Rob. What are your thoughts that they did it?
That's what they were supposed to do. It's Ohio, bro. It ain't, you know, a top tier caliber Division I team. You know, let's keep it a buck here. You know, we're not talking about a powerhouse team. You know, the team they play. You know, it was good they got that victory. You know, but in games that we play, and I'll just revert back to when I played at Syracuse. You know what? There was times when we would look at the schedule, and I'll be honest with you. We would go slow-mo sitting right here. We would go down the schedule and be like, all right, tough game, stat game, stat game, stat game. You know what a stat game is?
Yeah.
A stat game is a game of an opponent who he knows who's lesser than us and weaker than us, that we're going to blow out. We know we're going to beat them pretty good, and we know we're a much more physical, much more talented team, so we know it's going to be a stat game. What does the stat game mean? We've had our stats.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just being honest, and every team across the country does that. And that's what Syracuse did.
You're saying that was the Ohio game?
Pardon me?
Ohio game was stat game?
Oh yeah, come on, bro. You know it was, and it was. Like, you know, but you know what? If I'm a defensive coordinator, a smart defensive coordinator, or somebody like Greg Schiano, I'm looking at the last tape of the Ohio game with Syracuse, and I'm saying to myself, you know what I'm going to do? You like to run the ball? You didn't pass the ball well because Tommy DeVito didn't have a great game passing because he didn't have to. But you know what, Tommy DeVito? You're going to have to beat me this game. You know why? I'm going to stack the box. So I'm going to take all that running away. So what are you going to do now if you can't run the ball?
Oh, Schiano's going to stack the box. Schiano's going to stack the box when they try to take a knee at the end of the game.
Bro, stack the box.
That man's nasty.
I'll tell you what, Sean Tucker won't beat him. It's going to take Tommy DeVito and the quarterbacks and receivers to beat him.
Yeah, Schiano was trying to maim people when he was the Bucks coach, stacking the box and hitting people with 25 seconds on the clock. But I will give Dino said two things going into this game. And Dino doesn't usually throw shade, so when I feel like he's throwing a little bit, I like that. Like, I want a little bit of trash. If it's Rutgers, I want you to be nasty. This is New York, New Jersey. New Jersey people don't like New Yorkers, and New Yorkers don't like New Jersey. So he said two things. At the fan event, Fan Fest, going into it, he said, I'm not going to say the name of the team that you know that we're playing the first week that we're home. So he refused to name them. I like that. But they also asked him, we did a press conference on Monday, and they said, what do you think about Greg Schiano in his place in the rivalry? He goes, I don't know, because he hasn't seen him in the rivalry. So he was like, I don't know.
Wait. Rutgers and Syracuse have a rivalry?
Used to.
Man, we used to beat the brakes off Rutgers, bro. Please, man.
It used to be a big East.
That's one of those games where we looked at the schedule and saw Rutgers and said,
stat game.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to get into that in a minute because I like the trash talk. But what I like that Dino said was he got asked, and I was sitting in the room, and they said, what do you think about Greg Schiano? And he said, well, I don't know if he meant this as a joke, but I would have said this as a joke. He said, all I know about Schiano is they had him there once, and they must have liked him so much they brought him back. So, like, I like that. And I don't know if he meant that to be dirty.
It's funny.
But I like it. I thought it was funny, you know, like, yeah, we can have him come back a second time, why not? But let's get into Rutgers, because in the old Big East, it should have been, like, go independent and then, you know, Northeast and then getting into the old Big East, it should have been a rivalry in the Northeast. But you're calling it a stat game. I want trash talk today, so I'm going to go to you first, Lomo.
Well, Rutgers wasn't really a big-time football program, so it really wouldn't have been a rivalry. The rivalry we had was Penn State.
The team College, they wouldn't let into the Big East. Yeah.
Boston College was also one of the rivals that we had. So, yeah, Pitt.
Pitt still, yeah.
You call those rivalries, but as far as Rutgers went, they weren't very good. Like I said, we would look at the schedule and we saw Rutgers and we just put a W right there because everyone knew that, as Drum said, a stat game, everyone knew they were going to pad their stats that game. I set records against Rutgers. So I looked forward to it. And even though the time I was here, they had a DB that Rutgers would pump up because he was a 100-meter guy in track and he was supposed to be so fast. But that didn't translate to the football field. So, you know, when we played those games, it was like, all right, we knew these games were going to get out of hand. Our goal was to score 40 points on them. That's what we looked forward to trying to do.
So you already had a win. You're like a goal. So what were your goals? Score 4. Like, what were your individual goals against Rutgers?
Well, for me, I always wanted to catch 100 yards. That was me. I'm looking at 100 yards. At least 5 catches, 100 yards. I wanted to average 20 yards a catch against
Okay.
them.
What about?
And like I said, for our offensive goals, it was 40 points. We're trying to put 40 points on the board. And for the most part, we did that. So, yeah, there wasn't really a rivalry with Rutgers. Rutgers really didn't have a rival with anybody because they're not really a football school.
Nobody. I mean, you have to be equally matched for it to be a rivalry, right? Win one, lose one, back for it was never that.
So what were your goals?
Shoot, like for me, well, shoot, my coming out was against Rutgers. I was, you know, had a rough start to the year, so I didn't start the year as a starter.
Yeah.
They started Dwight, and Dwight got hurt in the Rutgers game. I think it was my third game that year. And yeah, I had 2.5 sacks that game, maybe 3. I don't remember, but yeah, I got off because we could.
So you come in for an injured Dwight, and you get at least 2.5 sacks.
Yep.
Rob, what was your line?
My goal was by halftime to be sitting down, not having to play in the game no more because we were up by so many points. So I played that entire first half to absolutely destroy them and crush them.
Hey, but what I will say though, right? It sounds like we're like trashing them or giving like bad advice. We treat every opponent the same.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
We say what we say, but we prepare for them like anybody else.
Yes.
It wasn't. There was no letdown.
Yeah.
But as you would see by the score.
Yeah.
So I will say that.
My goal was just to get some of the younger players and some of the players who weren't starting, second team, third team, get them playing time, because at the end of the day, they practice with it all the time. Those are our teammates also, and we enjoy, being their cheerleaders on the sideline as they cheer for us. So that's a big thrill for us as the starters of seeing our backups, and our third team guys out there playing the game also.
Yeah.
So you definitely go out there and as Duke said, we approach every game the same way. We approach every game to be as tough as we can, be as good as we can, and to win. But when you got to put that that foot on that gas pedal, and a team you should dominate, you put that foot on that gas pedal and you dominate.
Yep.
Well, and I think the thing is that people get nervous about is that Syracuse football of the last decade plus plays to the level of the competition, so they'll get up for games and then they'll fade back.
Whose fault is that?
What?
Whose fault is that?
Coaches.
Okay, I just want to make sure we clear that up. It ain't the players.
Well, listen, because
I honestly keep it a buck.
no, I know, but because, and I said this on the show this week, I said when a team is 1-10, and your individuals, your Andre Sisco's, your Afatu Melifonwas, your Trill Williams, your Nolan Cooney's, he was at a punter and whatnot. When you got your Sean Tuckers, and when guys are individually successful and individually putting up numbers and individually making it happen, and you aren't winning, that's a scheming problem and that's a coaching problem when your individuals are successful. So going off of your point, like, what's the issue now? And, I mean, you got to put the onus on the coaches in the scheming and the decision-making because Cisco on Ohio State's a first-round pick. Taj Harris, if he's at Florida right now doing some of the things he's done in the past, then people are watching him. Sean Tucker bruising the way that he's bruising, if he's at Alabama, that people are paying attention to that. So the reality is, what'd you say?
He's not playing.
I know, but I'm making an example.
No.
But what I'm saying is, individually, Andre Cisco, Afatu Melifonwu, there's certain guys that have come here that have proven that they're going to make it happen. Zaire Franklin is never a 7th-round pick on any other team, but the first 2 seasons with Shafe, he's in an attack defense, and then he's in a read and react the last 2. So people are going, 7th round, he's not going to make the team. Colts fans are like, who the hell is this guy? How's he a captain? And I'm saying, I knew he was going to make it. It was just the scheme he was in. So I guess, Rob, to go with off, what Drum was saying, it's got to be on the coaches in the scheming when your individuals are putting up numbers.
It is at a point. At a point, it is. But you're also naming certain individuals. The thing that was different with with our teams was it was a lot of different individuals that made up the team. So it wasn't just one Shamarko Thomas. It wasn't just one Trill Williams. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of us that were out there. That's the biggest difference between the program from back then to the program now. When you're going against teams, going against Ohio State, when you're going against Florida, when you're going against Alabama, what's the difference between them and Syracuse now? 4- and 5-star recruits. So they can hang in a game like what they did with Clemson a few years ago when they beat Clemson. They may pull off one of those victories once in a while, but when they went back down there the following year, Clemson eventually just took them off the field. It took a while, but they took them off the field. What happens? They get wore down. And those same guys that are 2- and 3-star recruits, you get 1 4, 5-star recruit here and there, that puts a lot of pressure on those guys in particular, to actually try to bring up a whole group of a team without that coaching staff doing it as well. So you got guys that are going into a game already defeated because they're looking at who they're playing and they're like, we can't compete with these guys. It was real interesting to me when I actually pulled into Syracuse yesterday. Al Wooten was on the radio on ESPN, and it stuck out to me. One thing that he said was that with the teams that we had back then, regardless of who was on the schedule, when we looked at the schedule, we were all playing top 10, top 25 teams throughout the schedule. We looked at who we were playing, we didn't care. We looked them right in the face and was like, all right, you hit us, we're going to hit you right back. Those guys that are out there now, they get a little shook, and you can see it. I can see it when I'm watching the game. These guys, they get scored on, their heads go down, they get shook.
Yeah.
They get hit, their heads go down, they get shook. The offense goes 3 and out, their heads go down, they get shook. When it happened to us, if one of us got hit, one of them got hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there was no turning the other cheek back then. We punched back, and that was the difference between then and now.
And what I noticed too is I can't tell you what our identity is right now. You know what I mean? Are we to your point about you have one guy, who's prolific and just individuals. You can have that, but if you're known when I was here, we were almost siloed on defense. Because we knew we were limited on offense. So we almost put up mental blocks. Hey, it doesn't matter what happens over there. We're going to get it done when we come on the field. So we'll have games where, we're winning 13-10, what have you. But, we had a lot of talent, but we had some outstanding coaches that poured into us, that believed in us, that, brought all the talent to, the same level. You know what I mean? And you just, continually fed off of that. Now, I can't tell you what, just being honest, what, we're known for. Are we an offensive team? Now, if we're an offensive team, then we should be, at least in the top 20, offensively in, in any category, right? If that's your calling card. And then if you're a defensive school, that's your calling card, then you should be in the top 20, of defense. So I don't know really, what we're known for in special teams. Remember the Beamer, we should get after it on special teams. I don't know. I don't see any of that. So a lot of plays and being fast. Yeah, that's fun. And give me that. That's almost like TikTok. You think about it, it's all show, and there's nothing behind it. You know what I mean? No substance. Yeah, we can get busy against, mediocre talent, teams. But when it comes to like nut cutting time, and we're playing these, teams that match up with us, what are we doing there? That's where you're being judged on, not Ohio.
You're right, and there is no actual go-to for the team.
Right.
So it comes down to crunch time. What are they really good at? There's something that the team is not really, really, really good at doing. When Drum was here, the team was running. They were running down your throat, and it forced you to stop it.
But that used to be the MO.
The
MO was RBU, strong defense. Yeah. It was always that way, and I argued this point that if Syracuse today threw Orange is the New Fast and everything out the window. Literally every moniker, every gimmicky thing, everything out the window and said, we're RBU. And they talk about Jim Brown and Ernie Davis and Floyd Little and Joe Morris and Larry Zonka and on and on and on and on and on. And they come to Rob, who went undefeated as well, and Rob, who's in the top 3 in career yards per carry. They go through all of that and say, we are RBU. We just had Mo Neal 2,560 yards, and if they ran him correct the first 2 years, he would have had over 3,000 easy, and he averaged 5 yards a carry in recent history. If they said today, we're RBU, and they went around the country, and they went to Ohio and said, that's who we are, went to New Jersey, went to New York, went to Pennsylvania, went to Florida, and said, this is who we're going to be, people would buy that immediately. It's the easiest thing to sell. And what did Boston College do? For 1,000 years, they go into the ACC, they run the ball, they play hard defense. That's who they are. What does Pittsburgh still do?
We can beat DNU too now. No, I mean,
you what?
that's we can beat
DNU
too.
Yeah, but that's the thing is run the ball, play hard defense. Run the ball, play hard defense.
Yeah.
That was their MO. They tried to, after Pasqualoni, they went from like hurry up, no huddle to let's be methodical to let's get in the shotgun to let's go fast to maybe let's run the ball, let's not run the ball. They've had 4 identities, none of them work. And what I argued the point of is Orange is the New Fast. Getting off the field in the ACC is the wrong decision. Because if you score in 37 seconds, you're playing Clemson. If you don't score,
going to be tired. You know, where your defense at?
But whether you score or not, 37 seconds against Clemson, Florida State, Miami, that's not good.
Not when they can do it too.
Right, and they do it better.
Do it better.
That's my issue, is you don't want to be the new fast. You want to be the methodical. You beat Ohio because you ran the ball, and I know it's Ohio, but they ran the ball. I don't know the last time they ran for 283 yards in the last decade as a team.
Yeah.
Got me.
You know what I mean?
know.
So
I want it to be a
we've
team.
talked about RBU because...
Walter Reyes was probably him.
Yeah, and Reyes, I mean, he had big days against Notre Dame, you know,
Yes.
and it breaks my
All the
heart.
big teams.
And it's so weird to like, I mean, I remember exactly where I was driving, down 57. I turned on 31 and found out that Walter had passed.
Yeah, that was my little buddy.
And him and I, he was on the show. We got to do some stuff on the show, and his wife reached out to me and said, you know, Walter really appreciated all that time, and it really meant a lot to him to be on it. I still today can't, like, I go right back to my car, driving there going, if you don't appreciate your life, that was before COVID, like, you need to appreciate every day, every friend, every conversation.
100%.
Because I knew being in the sports world and interviewing, at this point, almost 3,000 people on the show, somebody's, you know, I'm going to get that call someday.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I was going to get a Walter Reyes phone call. I mean, that man was barely alive to be gone.
Yeah, it's sad.
You know, you said that was your little brother, so let's talk about it.
When he came in at first time, we just clicked, man. He was just a tough little dude, man. I just, you know, we just bonded, man, and you know, we talked. You know, I don't big time the freshmen. You know, I welcome them all, but you know, me and him, you know, we connected, and you know, we clicked, and you know, we stayed in contact over the years, man. And yeah, and I saw that, and I was crushed. I was crushed. Never did I expect anything like that, but you never know what, you know, someone's struggling with, you know. And to your point, that's what the importance of, you know, reconnecting and staying connected. So, you know, you can check in on your guys from time to time.
Yeah, and you know, he had last time we talked to you, you know, he had aspirations. We were having conversations about what he was doing business-wise and things on his mind, and
Yeah.
you just never know. And I mean, like, I know you guys know from being on the air over the phone, and when we finally got to meet, and now, you know, Duke and I get to sit here together, Rob and I, for a decade now. But I mean, I don't sugarcoat it when I say it, and I hope you know it when you're on the phone. I hope you know it now. Like, I love all you guys. I don't give a crap if you had 3 downs or 1,000 downs. Like, you guys mean the world to me, and I'll sit on these couches on or off the air whenever.
That's good. We appreciate that.
You know, for real. Even though you got the first name of a team that we don't speak of in this city.
Yeah, I don't receive any of that. That I'm Big East.
Yeah.
I'm not. I can't. I think
We're all Big East.
Yeah, I'm not gonna manufacture a rivalry with Duke. That Duke is not a rival. Georgetown is. So
Yeah.
It's always Georgetown.
Always G-Town.
Always Georgetown.
It's always weird to me to say Syracuse is in the
this
ACC.
day.
Yeah.
It's weird for me to say it.
It is.
So
It doesn't.
is.
It still doesn't sit right.
It does.
It's always
Look,
Big
you know, I compare it to like Alabama leaving the SEC to go to the Big Ten. I mean, that's like, I mean, because we know, I know that, you know, basketball built the Big East. You know, that's our bread and butter. You know what I mean? Even when we play, you know, we play football, we know, but, you know, we're a Big East basketball school. You know what I mean? And, that tradition, like, how do you give that away?
that Big East tradition kept a lot of us around.
Yes.
Like last night, you know, after the game, I'm speaking to Derek, and the one thing that was brought up was how we always used to get it, like CBT was bringing us back together.
Yeah.
The Big East parties used to bring us back together in down in New York.
Yeah.
Every year, Big East would start, and everybody was back in town for all the Big East parties and for the tournament. So that was one of the things and I said to him, I'm like, man, that's one of the things I miss about, because we would always see each other. We knew that time of the year you would see everybody back.
Oh yeah. I got to go to the last time we were in the Big East tournament in the Garden, and like the Big East has the Garden, like the Garden.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing better than that.
Right.
There's nothing better than the mecca of. The first time I went in there was for an NFL draft, and I walked into the building, and Kevin Johnson from here got traded when I was in the building. And then I came back. I went to a Walking Dead thing that was there, like a premiere. And then I went to the Big East, and Syracuse beat Georgetown in that the last time they were in overtime. But it's like, I remember walking. I was going on the outside steps. So I came out from like the main concourse, and I'm walking down the steps in the spiral, and I stopped and I went, I'm at the Big East tournament. And then I walked down on the other side. I was like, holy crap, man. I was like, I'm at the Big East tournament. And I kept I would get to a landing and stop and go, I need you to take a deep breath and bring this air in, because this is insane.
Yeah.
To be a kid and be there with a badge on, sitting there all cush, watching the Big East, UConn, Georgetown, Villanova, Syracuse, St. John's, Pittsburgh, when life used to make sense, I guess.
Something like that. Life did make sense back then. But the Big East was it, man, and that's what we were part of. And I just can't let that go, honestly. It's still hard for me to say ACC.
I mean, I might even teared up on the 30 for 30 on the Big East.
Exactly.
I got a little emotional. I'm not even gonna lie. It was like, man.
All those years when the Big East was going on back in the mid '80s. You know, I was in junior high school and high school, and I was a big basketball guy.
Yeah.
I would run home to catch the Big East basketball tournament games. I would literally run home from school to catch the Big East basketball tournament games, and at times would skip school to go out to the Garden to watch the early games in the Big East. So,
Well, you got to sneak out to the Garden.
to the Garden.
So tell me what that was like as a kid, to be able to weasel into the Garden. I mean, you got to go to the place that people all over the world dream about going to.
Well, when you're living there, it's not like it's a big thing to be living there and doing it.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you realize that this is the Mecca. This is the place where it's called the world's famous arena.
It's a place that doesn't know who Patrick Ewing is anymore.
That's it. Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
That's
But
insane.
It's called the world's famous arena for a reason.
Yeah.
And everything has gone on in the Garden. So just to go to those games way back then when I was a kid, man, and to see all the guys actually that came through Syracuse, Pearl, Sherm, Derek, these guys playing in that tournament.
Yeah.
When the tournament and the Big East was the top dog when it came to basketball.
Well, if it makes you all feel better, I interviewed Patrick Ewing after Pearl Washington passed away. And I was at Summer League in Orlando. I think it was the last year they had it down there. And I'm talking to Patrick, and I said, can we do a little thing about Pearl? And he was like, yep, go ahead. And, and Patrick, he always looks like somebody, went to the bathroom in his oatmeal. He's just ready to get on with it. And I kept him for 10 minutes. and I asked him about Pearl, and I kid you not, I mean, Pearl was gone. Pearl had passed, and I'm thinking, okay, I know it's a rivalry, but let's say something nice. He said, you know, Pearl was all right. Something about, like, you go back and watch it on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Search Pearl and Patrick. And he said to me along the lines of, he was good, you know, for a guy who couldn't shoot. And I was like, he's dead now. But that rivalry just never goes away.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? Like, Patrick still looked into the thing like if Pearl's ghost comes back, I'm going to kill him on the court. Like, that's how he was. So, you know, I mean.
The rivalries never die.
No, so I'm going to ask this question to go off of this, and then we'll spin back to Rutgers. Drum, who is Duke's rival in basketball in the ACC?
North Carolina.
Who's North Carolina's rival?
Duke.
Mr. Carpenter? Who's Duke's rival in the ACC?
North Carolina.
Who's North Carolina's rival?
Duke.
Duke? Who's Duke's rival?
North Carolina.
Who's North Carolina's rival?
Duke.
But they sell that Syracuse is Duke's rival. So if your rival in the ACC is not your rival back, you're the mistress of this marriage.
Yes.
So they don't have a true rival in the ACC, do they?
In basketball?
Yeah.
So what's another Big East school? Louisville. Yeah, Louisville. I mean, if they're another old.
Because you can't even say Pitt anymore because Jamie Dixon's not there and Pitt's not that good.
Maybe Boston College.
But I mean,
They've been really bad too.
Maybe, but I mean,
right.
that's the closest.
Any Big East school, pick one.
That's the closest to
Any
it.
former Big East school
Yeah.
in the ACC.
Like when Pitino was at Louisville, like maybe that.
That could be the closest to it, but there's
Maybe
no
not.
real Syracuse rival in the ACC.
But there's and I
But
asked.
I mean, it's hard to like create a rivalry like right now. I mean, rivalries are mostly based off of history. We're
Yeah.
playing like years and years. We started all over. We had to reset. So every rivalry going forward for us in basketball is going to be a reset. We could probably still do it in football because of you know the Big East, and you know we're closer in football than in basketball.
Yeah.
But you can't do it.
The only way a rivalry would come back for Syracuse, like if Syracuse and Penn State got back on schedules to each other,
Yeah.
you can call that a rivalry. If Syracuse well, Syracuse still plays Pitt, but you know if the schools got back up into super status at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah, you need that too, right?
That could be a rivalry. But I mean, now in football there is no real rivalry with Syracuse. In basketball,
No.
like Duke just said, basketball has to have a whole big reset, man. The rivalry will come along probably long after we're gone if they continue to play in the ACC.
Well, I mean, it's Georgetown still for the fans. Like they hate Duke, like most people, and beyond that, beyond just like hating Duke on a normal, like when they weren't in the ACC, fans hated Duke. I mean, they just did.
Yeah.
And the reality, because that was like the thing, you either like North Carolina or you like Duke.
Yeah.
So they're like the Yankees, they're like the Cowboys. You love them, you hate them. That's it. There's no middle ground. So Syracuse fans want Georgetown on the non-conference schedule, and if they don't have that, then they're mad.
Yeah, I would be mad too. Well, I'm mad. I mean,
Exactly.
We look forward to that. We look forward to that matchup.
You just brought up the Yankees.
Yeah.
It's the Yankees rival. Red Sox.
Red Sox all day.
So it wouldn't matter if the Red Sox went to the National
League,
League.
yeah,
It would still
Always
be
gonna have that.
the rival.
Yeah.
just like Texas and OU. You know,
Right.
shoot, we
Alabama.
we gonna move our rivalry together.
Yeah.
So they
Alabama,
both went to the
Auburn.
SEC.
Yeah, it's Alabama, Auburn, Florida State,
Yeah.
South Carolina, Clemson.
Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
UCLA.
even though Jim Harbaugh can't win
You
none
can't
of
win a
them.
game.
I know.
It's still a rivalry. You know, Michigan
Yeah.
people hate Ohio
But
State
again,
people. Ohio
it's still
State,
a rivalry
Right.
because of the history.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and so when you look at kind of where we're at now with everything, and we look at realignment, because it just reared its head today, and the Big 12, who's going to lose Oklahoma and they're going to lose Texas to the SEC, which, mind you, Oklahoma fans, the best you're ever going to be now is 8 wins. Texas fans, 6-6. I just want you to know. So going to the SEC. But now the Big 12 is taking BYU, who was independent. They're taking UCF. They're taking Houston. They're taking Cincinnati from the American Athletic that I've covered forever. So now we're seeing realignment rear its head again. What are your thoughts on and I want everybody's on this, what realignment looks like? Because now Oklahoma's leaving and Oklahoma State's not about that life now because they're going to be in the Big 12 without them. Texas is moving on. We're seeing BYU, Navy's in the American for almost a decade now, but they used to be independent. Army still is. UConn's now independent. Everybody's shifting around. What are your thoughts on the fact that the Big 12 is now going back to 12? And their teams are going to be all types of different. The Americans at 8 right now, they got to poach. And the ACC still doesn't have the Marylands and the West Virginias, and Syracuse and Pitt still don't make sense.
Well, for me, my opinion is that the NCAA is gone. That's just it for me. The SEC is going to be college football because them taking OU and Texas, they already have the dominant reign.
You're going to have 16 schools now.
They have the dominant reign on college football, and that's not going to change now. That's probably going to stay that way from here on out because when they're going to let these conferences run football now. NCAA is basically just gone because with the NIL now, they can't stop anything. And NCAA really has no rules about anything now. The rules are going to be out the window because what was the biggest thing? It was the money for the players, and the players can do what they want now with their name, their image, licensing, and all that. So, the schools are looking for TV money. Yeah. So when you got the SEC bringing OU and Texas on now, that's the big thing right there.
The SEC could be its own division right now.
That's what's going to happen. You're going to see that happening. Basically, the SEC is just going to run college football.
Yeah.
When it comes to national championship every year, you're going to see SEC teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Winning the championship.
Well, you can argue right now with 4 spots. I could have argued a couple of years ago, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, and then Auburn on the outside, Texas A&M's better. I can argue 6 in 4 spots right now.
Oh yeah, easy.
The only way you might see a team from outside the SEC win a title is if they expand the playoff.
Yeah, which they're supposed to put it to 12 now.
Right. I honestly don't think that's going to happen. But every team from the SEC will eventually be in the playoff. You're just going to see it. SEC teams 1 through 6, 1 through 8, whatever it's going to be. It's going to be SEC teams. You'll get an outlier every now and then.
Yeah.
From Pac-12, Big Ten.
Yeah.
But SEC schools, man, they're just going to rule college football.
What do you think, Drum? We actually talked 4 years ago when I said in 5 to 10 years, 4 years ago, the NCAA will either not exist the way that we know them or they won't exist at all. So what you just said about them being dead, that was my prognosis 4 years ago. Oh yeah.
It's all about the money. There's not.
I don't know if Rob's doing the Baker
business guys who are pulling the strings. There's no football guys that are really involved in this decision making, and you can see. So they're gonna do what's best for their pockets, at the end of the day, and it is what it is at this point. You know what I mean? Tradition doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't seem.
Yeah.
So you just hope that the product that they're putting out is still good. You know what I mean? And they protect the kids along the way. I mean, that's what I hope. I'm a huge fan of the NIL. I think that's awesome. I don't think that, of course we would have liked to, have a part of it. But, we got kids now. So if our kids are in that spot to take advantage of that, I'm all for it. So I'm good with them, finding the best TV deals, just as long as that's, shared with, with the athletes as well.
Yeah, and I think when you're a $1 billion industry that says that you're a non-for-profit,
it's goofy.
I'm just saying. I'm like, where's your money going? Are you donating to foster children somewhere? No, because I'm seeing.
What constitutes a non-profit?
You being able to file the paperwork and knowing somebody in the business and going, all right, we'll take it with the state and write it in.
Yeah, I want to identify as a nonprofit.
Yeah, I think Apple doesn't pay no taxes. Like there's certain people that get away with murder, but the NCAA, huh? Yeah. We're not going to say who that came from. So weird that somebody would yell that out here. But the reality is, I mean, the NCAA making all that money and then playing that they're a non-for-profit. And then
Crazy.
in 2019, mind you, I think it was $3 million that Mark Emmert took home as the president of the NCAA. And he said during COVID that he has no jurisdiction over college football. He can't tell a conference or a school what to do. And I said, okay, then if I'm a player and I get suspended by the NCAA, I'm playing on Saturday.
Right, absolutely.
You just said you're the president of nothing, but you take home a $3 million check for being the president of nothing. And the people on the upper tier take $1 million home, and then 6 other people beyond that take $500,000 in 2019. And now you're talking about, oh, but we lost money last year. If you're making $500,000 or $1 million as a non-for-profit, sign the 4 of us up. We'll come work for y'all.
The NCAA ruined themselves. They did it to themselves by being greedy, and trying to throw shade to everybody else. You can't be a huge monopoly like that, when it finally caught up to them. You know what? Always follow the money trail. You hear that cliche. I've heard that cliche since the dawn of times. And you just follow the money. These teams realize, that they can control the narrative, and really, push the NCAA out, and that's what they're doing. You know what? And I say kudos to them. For the simple fact that the NCAA ruined themselves, and hey, I feel no problem. I have no problem with that.
Looking at the fact that there's players now that are signing $1 million deals.
Yes. Freshmen.
Yeah.
Outstanding. I love it.
They owe me some money, boy. Hold on.
Good luck.
They came out too late. I got to get my NIL deal, whatever.
Yeah.
They owe me some money.
Good luck.
Some retroactive stuff.
Yes.
Not a chance.
Yeah, we could go back and get you some money, but
And we was winning back when I was in school. We were in school.
I was going to say back when y'all were playing, you be getting some big car dealership money.
1-10. You should pay to play. Bro, we was 11-0, 10-2. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
10-2. Beating SEC teams.
Yeah.
Beating them down. Not just beating them down.
Well, that was back when Auburn. See, my problem with college is that you tied back there.
We could have pride in up here with the way the SEC runs college football now.
Yeah. You ran them.
Yeah, we didn't lose to SEC teams. We played them in 4 straight bowl games, and we destroyed them. So it was no contest with us and SEC teams back then.
Well, I was spoiled growing up because y'all were playing. And, I remember when defensively, I used to come to the Dome, and I see Duke come out, and I'm like, somebody gonna die today. And then you see Rob slow down in an open field so he can hit somebody. You see you shake somebody off. Syracuse used to be a feared team, and I used to remember those seriously, the offense was on and it was just on all cylinders, but defensively, y'all used to, back when you could hit, you maimed people out there.
Oh yeah, we got after it, man. I mean, because it was fun.
You know what I mean?
It was fun. We enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
Sitting there talking to Derek and Billy yesterday. We were trying to, just brainstorm and try and figure out, what's the difference between this generation of Syracuse basketball and Syracuse football as opposed to our generation of Syracuse basketball and Syracuse football.
Yeah.
And the only thing we could always come up with is Derek said, in practice, the current Coach Boeheim team, the starters will go against the walk-ons in practice. And Derek's like, I didn't want to go against, want to dominate the walk-ons. Why? It doesn't make me better. So he would always go up against the best players in practice. Whereas just in football, the same with us. Slow-mo will tell you. I mean, you have the North squad, you have the South squad. The North squad is the starters. The South squads are our second team.
Yeah.
We would go, in the North offense, we go against the South defense, and the South offense would go against the North defense to get them ready. We would call for it. We wanted North against North. And this was live contact. This was full contact, all out, like it was a game. We would go North against North, best against best. You know why? Because it made the games easy.
Bro.
When we went that hard against practice, against our best players, it made our games easy. And we always wanted that.
Yeah.
My introduction to Syracuse
was
the All-American DBs that were here at that time. Marcus Paul, Chris Ingram, those guys. So that was my introduction to Syracuse. So having to go against those guys every day in practice, that made me that much better. When you know those guys didn't give up a touchdown for basically an entire season, when you have to go against those guys every day in practice, it's going to make you that much better.
Well, that's
how
what I
we did
long
it.
for.
Yeah.
That's how we did it in practice.
I long for hearing you guys. Like, I want to hear players say, when I say who's your toughest opponent, they say practice. I want to hear, like, my toughest opponent that I face is my first team defense, my first team offense.
Yeah.
I used to say that on interviews back then because when I got to the game was easy.
Yeah.
And for me, because my toughest opponent was guys that I had to go against every day in practice. When I'm going against a guy who's an All-American all day, every day,
Yeah.
it's going to make me that much better. So when I get in the game and I know I'm going against guys that are inferior to him,
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun. That was just it for me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have fun today. I don't have to worry about it. And again, our schedule wasn't a cupcake schedule. We played Florida State, Penn State, Florida. We played those guys on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we know those guys had All-Americans all over the field. It just made it easy for us. Coming out against Florida State, my first time stepping on the field. Me and Rob, both of us had big days against those guys over there. Those Florida State's DBs were all All-Americans. I mean, those guys look silly on the field. They ended up winning the game, but as far as one-on-one matchups go,
Yeah.
again, receivers against DBs, and back then we didn't run 4 wide receiver sets,
Yeah.
3 wide receiver sets. It was 2 guys. It was just myself and Rob on the field all day against the other DBs in the field.
I love that stuff. I love hearing that. Just playing that, playing north on north.
Oh yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, you live for that.
They should have to run away from you in practice, or how are they going to learn? How are you going to learn
yeah,
running away from a third
Would
string?
you rather have, your first team, all Big East end
Yeah.
rushing on your first team tackle, or someone playing a first team all Big
Yeah.
East? You know what I mean? The other guy, like, no. If you can get that live look, get the live look. And you should want it.
Yeah.
Like embrace that. But we coddle these kids, these days. Won't make it too hard.
And that's the problem.
James Mongrel, I'm sorry. James Mongrel, come join us on the couch.
Come sit
Come
with
on,
us.
James.
Come sit, James.
James. Come on, James.
Come on, Mongrel. You sit.
How you managed to get 4 former Syracuse University football players up in the same? And this Camillus for that fact.
How are you, sir?
What up, big time?
Yeah.
What's up, boy? I see you all the time, man.
Let's put it right here. So Mongrel, who, Duke saw you out there and shouted you out here. How's life? How you doing?
Another SU great running back in the house.
Can't complain.
Got to rep the running backs, huh? Hey, running back you.
Yeah, and we were talking about running back you before you came in here. So, how Syracuse, if they decided to go back to it immediately, that it would be sellable right off the bat. Do you believe that?
I believe we needed some consistency. That's what I believe. In the running game, last week was very good. I want to see it this week. That's what I want to see. I want to see what they can do this week. That's more important.
Going back to your days there and hearing these guys talk about rivalries and what we were used to and the Big East and all of that, what do you miss most about what the Big East brought to Syracuse?
Well, I think when you talk about the Big East, you think about just the Eastern schools. The Pittsburgh, Rutgers was never really that good, but, Boston College. It's just the rivals. Just Virginia Tech, West Virginia. It's like the East Coast, all the East Coast teams. They were the powerhouse teams. The only team that was not there in the Big East that should have been there was Penn State. Besides that, it would have been the whole East.
And, that was something I want to talk about with realignment. Penn State allegedly wanted to come in to the Big East. And there was a time where maybe Notre Dame could have come in before they went independent. Penn State could have been a part of it. Pittsburgh, Syracuse. If that had happened, if Penn State had come in and Notre Dame arguably had a window to come in as well, I want to get everybody's thoughts on this. Mongrel, we'll start with you here. What do you think? Do you think the Big East ever would have died if Penn State was there from the giddy-up?
That's a hard question to answer. Pennsylvania boy that I am, I would have liked to see Penn State in the Big East. I would have loved to play against Penn State. and me going to Syracuse University. I would have loved that rival right there. But you know, one team's not going to make the Big East. And the Big East had a lot of good teams in the Big East. You know, with Miami every year, that was always a big game. But I mean, you can't knock the Big Ten at all. But with the Big East, I think Big East was a very solid conference.
Yeah. What do you think, Duke? If Penn State was a Big East team, what would life look like now?
Well, yeah, I agree with what James said. They wouldn't have been the difference maker. They would definitely be added to, you know, the it definitely they would have helped football wise. You know, kind of even it. Yeah, it would even that. You know, those rivalries.
Yeah.
As far as a football, you know, being a football conference. I think them and Notre Dame coming in, but as a like making the Big East. Like I said, Big East is a basketball. We know where our bread was buttered and where the history lies. But as far as like strengthening the football, it would have been tremendous if we got both of those guys in there.
What do you think?
I think the problem with Big East football is that the fact and the mindset of people thought that Big East football should be as big as Big East basketball. And Big East basketball back then was a monster. I mean, we all know that. You know, between the Big East and ACC, it just dominated the country. You know, we're on TV every day. You know, it's just, you know, with Penn State. You know, out of this group up here, you know, these gentlemen, I was fortunate enough to play Penn State four years in a row. You know, and just the rivalry and just just the fact of being, you know, in the Dome or in Happy Valley, and playing that game and putting myself in a situation, you know, and my team in a situation of being able to play in such a huge game. I think Penn State could have made a difference, in the fact of changing the landscape of the Big East, Penn State and Notre Dame. But you know what? I just saw people had the expectations that were thrust upon Big East football. You know, I mean, superseded the fact that they really wanted to be like as big as Big East basketball, and that was never going to happen.
Yeah. What do you think, Carp?
Well, I was fortunate enough to play in the last Syracuse-Penn State game. We didn't win that day. It was a game down in Happy Valley. But, you know, we knew it was about the money then with Penn State because and it was also about the money with Notre Dame. Notre Dame wanted to stay independent because they had their rights as an independent. Everyone was going to put Notre Dame on the schedule. And Notre Dame would be getting their own check. Penn State actually thought that they were so much, as far as football goes, Penn State figured they were so much better than Syracuse at that time. That's why it ended. And I'll never forget Mac actually being in the meeting when that rivalry was going to end and saying that, you know, if Penn State thinks they're so much better than us, they should have showed it on the field. And at that point in time, they weren't really showing it on the field that they were that much better than us. But they wanted a home and home with us. They wanted 2 straight home games to our 1 at that time, and that's why the whole thing ended. But you know, if they would have come to the East, if the whole Big East thing would have came around, where it would have been Notre Dame, Penn State, Syracuse, Pitt, Boston College, West Virginia, there would have been a lot more rivalries that would have been, you know, made over the past, 20 years or so. But like Drum said, as far as the rivalries go with the stigma of the Big East, it was basketball. And we weren't going to, as far as football goes, we wouldn't have been able to compete with the way the basketball rivalries were run in the Big East, because the Big East at that time, as far as basketball goes, ran the whole country. It was like the SEC of football. Yeah. That's how the Big East was with basketball.
It was the best. I mean, I argued that the Big East got itself to be the best conference in basketball in the nation, and the only reason why the ACC can argue that now is because the ACC is made up of half of the Big East. It's 7 schools from the Big East and 8 from the ACC. I mean, it's literally half and half now. And so in order to become the best, you had to absorb most of it. But, I mean, I miss those. I miss Villanova, UConn, like seeing those normal things on the schedule. And now that UConn's back in the Big East for basketball, now it's like everybody's there except for Syracuse, except for Pittsburgh. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. But
well, when you say the Big East now, it doesn't have that same ring to it now.
No,
It's
they're
there,
still in
but
the
it's
garden,
not there.
yeah.
And, you know, when I believe all of us saw the 30 for 30 on the Big East.
Yeah.
You know, it was the money that ruined the whole thing at that point in time.
Yeah.
You know, with them taking that big chunk of money for TV rights and everything. But back then, the rivalries as far as the Big East went, it was all for just the love of the game. And everyone knew it that up here in the East, as far as basketball went with the Big East, that's all it was. Everybody just wanted to see the game. They weren't worried about the money, but of course the presidents were worried about that money.
Final point here for all of us. Words of advice to this year's team. Rob, I'll start with you. Words of advice.
Run! No, I'm just playing.
We talked about that. I'm with you on that.
You know what? Honestly, and I mean this from the heart. As an outsider looking in, I mean, I can't tell what they're doing. So, you know, because again, we went to the first practice, and it's what, September 10th now? I haven't seen them since, you know, so I really can't tell you the inner workings of what's going on in the organization, so I don't know. All I can base it off is what we did. I know how we won. I know how we went 11-0-1, and how we went 10-2.
Yeah.
2 years in a row. Then the next year they went 10-2. Then the next year they went 10-2. Then the next year I think they went 9-3, and so on and so on. So I know what a winning program looks like. I know what the winning attitude looks like.
Yeah.
You know what? I would love to tell those guys, but again, I'm on the outside looking in, so it is what it is.
Well, you know, Paul Pasqualoni got fired for being 6-6 2 years in a row. Now they're begging for that. Mongrel, what are your words of advice to this year's team?
Honestly, I would just tell the team, you know, go out there and have fun. You have nothing to lose. Go out there and just play. I mean, you never know when the last time you're going to play a game. You don't know what's going to happen in the world. So go out there and lay it out on the line now, because tomorrow or next week is not promised to nobody out there. And, you know, when you're talking just about Syracuse football, just directly to Syracuse football, they need to turn the program around. This is time where they could say, hey, listen, we turned the program around and we did it. And because the program for a while has been not good at all. And it's hard to watch. But now, you know, they got one W, keep moving, keep building. And, you know, by winning, you build your own legacy by winning.
What about you, Duke? What do you think? What's your words of advice for the team?
Words of, compete. Like, authentically compete. Like, you know, compete like your family's watching. Compete like, you know, your life depends on it. You know, put your best foot forward. Like, go out there and leave everything on. Don't worry about what anybody else is thinking about. You know, what I look like. No, just go out there, execute, go full tilt for the whole damn game, and, you know, ride for each other. You know what I mean? Once you insulate yourself, and I think, you know, as a unit, I was telling you, you know, how we thought. You know we were deficient in offense, so, you know, we just bonded as a defensive unit, and, you know, had each other back, held each other accountable. We didn't sugarcoat anything. If you're not practicing up to level, you know, we're gonna hold you accountable. I mean, just stuff like that. Like nobody, buddy, because at the end result was success, right? Not like feel good. No, we felt good when we won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was an authentic competition, competitiveness.
Go ahead.
I mean, you know, I played with Duke, and Duke hit it right on the dot right there. You know, when we played back in, you know, the late '90s, early 2000s, you know, there's a different attitude. There's a really different attitude, and like Duke said, it didn't matter offensive, defense. He's a defensive linebacker. I was an offensive player. I used to run into him every practice. I was in his face, he was in my face. We got better. You know, we didn't like each other on the field. Off the field, we walk off, you know, together, because we made each other better, made the team better. And you know, and what Duke said, Duke is older than me by a couple years, 1 year, and the people before us paved the path for us already. All we had to do was keep it going, and that's what we did. We just kept the path going. McNabb left. Everybody thought, oh, Syracuse is going to be all downhill. Guess what? We had a better record without McNabb. Syracuse did, you know. Yeah, because of defense Duke would claim. But either way, we played as a team. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the elders did and put out front of us. And all we had to do was, Duke is older than me again. The elders put in front of us, and that's all we had to do is just stay competitive and just keep it going. That's all we had to do.
I want to make note that James Mungo came here in the middle of the party and said that Duke was older than him 4 times.
the only reason I'm here is because of the owner, Dan. I'm good friends with Dan. That's the only reason I'm here.
4 times. 4 times we got that. Duke, you're young at heart, man. You look young, Duke.
I can be Mungo.
As I walked in, I said, "Oh my God, Dan, he's bald." That's the first thing I said. Duke used to have a big afro, hair all plucked out, and everything else. I said, "Wow." I mean, I haven't seen him since I played down in Houston, and I was like, "Wow, he's bald." But that's good enough.
Oh my goodness. We love you, Duke. I love Duke. All right, Rob, what's your words of advice for the team?
For these guys, just to get consistent. That's the biggest thing. Without consistency, whether it's in practice, whether it's about working out, whether it's in the games, the team is going to be all over the place. And if they can, the feeling they had coming off the field last week against Ohio is the feeling they should take moving forward. So they should take that feeling, put it into tomorrow's game. And they just have to get consistent because it's not going to work for them being all over the place. Like the guys have said, if you don't have an identity and you're trying to build a program, it's not going to work. So whatever the identity they actually are going to put into place, whether it's running the ball or going 4 wide, whatever it might be, whether it's taking a super attack defense and putting it out on the field, whatever it might be, they got to get that identity, get consistency with it, and keep it moving forward.
Consistency, I like it. Duke, I'm going to move you up here a little bit. We're going to do rapid fire. Y'all know what rapid fire is. Put each other on the hot seat. So you all get to, because you guys have been great sports on the show, here live, and of course when we're live over the phone and whatnot, y'all get to ask me one question that I have to answer, and I get to ask you one question that you have to answer, and we're live, so just remember that. So, Drum, I'm going to ask you first, since I've known you for almost 10 years. So,
all
right, Drum. I'm going to go to food. So, you can have one thing for breakfast, one thing for lunch, one thing for dinner for the rest of your life. What are you picking for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Something different for each one.
Wow. For breakfast, one thing for the rest of my life, it'd be oatmeal.
Oatmeal?
Yeah, oatmeal is healthy. I got to put anything. It's going to sustain me, and I could live off it.
Okay.
For lunch, ooh man. Probably have a turkey sandwich.
Okay.
Again, it's something with no mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the reason I look like this. Because I try and eat healthy. I don't try and eat bad food. I try and eat things that put things in my body that aren't going to give me a gut or make me fat or sustain myself. So I stay healthy. For dinner, oh man. All right, I might have to go a little bit against what I just said. For my dinner, probably eat something bad, but I'd have to eat Jamaican oxtail, bro.
Oxtail.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Never had oxtail.
For real?
I haven't. I like to cook too. I never had
Never
it.
had oxtail,
No.
bro. You don't know what you're missing.
There's got to be something. I think there is a Jamaican spot. All right. What's your question for me?
I ain't got to answer that same question. Ask that same question, do I?
Same one?
I said I don't have to answer that same.
No, you don't have to ask me the same
All right,
one.
play. Okay. Good. All right. Since it's your radio show and everything, and you tell the truth and everything, if you were to give Dino Babers a grade for his last 6 years, what would it be? Between
If I had to give Dino Babers a grade?
A, B, C, D, or F.
If I had to give Dino a grade.
Yeah, let me tell you again. A, B, C, D, or F. What grade would you give him?
So.
A, B, C, D, or F. What grade?
All right. So 4 and 8, 4 and 8, 10 and 3. with the guys that Schaefer recruited and Dungy, who was brought here by Tim Lester. So, and then 5-7, and then 1-10.
Bro, don't get nervous. I know you had it in your head.
I know I have it in my head. I'm trying to figure out if I want to go here or here.
He ain't gonna swing them hands at you. Don't worry.
I'm gonna give him a C minus. I'm gonna give him
Please.
I'm gonna give him a C minus. I'm gonna give him a C minus because I like some of the guys he's recruited individually, what they've done. I like some of the things that he's tried to do. I like that he finally let Dungy run, because when he came into Syracuse, he said, Dungy ain't going to run that much. And then the next year in the press conference, he goes, well, I got to let him be himself. And I was like, yeah, because he's the dog. You can't take a dog away from being a dog. That's who he is. So I'm going to give him a C minus. And the only reason why it's above a D is because of some of the recruitment that he's done and because he was able to put a few things together. But if this year is 4-8 or less, then it's a hard D. The hard D. That's where I'm at. Yeah, I know you give him a D. I know you would.
I gave you a D, bro. You lucky to get that. I'm being nice.
I was gonna give him an E at one point. All right, Rob Carpenter.
Lucky I couldn't give you an H. 'Cause I didn't give you that.
Oh, I'm trying to be nice, man. I'm trying to be.
I ain't trying to be nice. It's my hometown, my team. I'm born and raised here.
Well, you know, the number.
I love Syracuse football, man. I'm tired of this.
The letter in my head was C, and so I went with C minus. So, and that's what I went. I mean, that's as close is right there to the D. But yeah, I mean, he needs to get it together. I gave him a 4-8 record this year, so 6-6 at best. I heard what you said, but 4-8 makes sense because Wake Forest, when you can't beat Wake, like at home. Now Liberty's a danger zone game for them right now. That makes me sad too.
You can't overlook that. You can take one game at a time.
And one game at a time. Yeah. All right, Rob Carpenter. My question for you is, if you could change one thing about your life, what would you change and why?
I would have came to Syracuse first instead of going to Notre Dame.
You would do what?
I would have came to Syracuse first instead of going to Notre Dame first.
Okay. Why? Oh, go ahead.
I can answer that. Walk off the practice field faster when we were done with practice. That's why he got the nickname Slow-Mo.
Because you'd walk off practice slow? Oh, yeah.
I was the last person off the
Why?
practice field. I didn't have anywhere to go. Where was I going? What was I rushing to?
Okay.
Dinner wasn't going anywhere. It's going to be right there.
All right.
The shower wasn't going anywhere. It's going to be right there.
I thought it was slow-mo because maybe because you took longer, they made you run more?
Nah.
No?
It's because the way I walked on and off the practice field.
Listen, as we talked about here before, life is fleeting. And anything can change at any given time. So you never know when your last game or your last practice is going to be. So I tell you flat out, you walk slow off that field because you don't know when it's going to be. I think everybody should be slow on that field.
Listen.
But at the end, you don't know when it's going to end. In the game, he was fast, but he was walking off that field thinking maybe I'm not going to be back here tomorrow.
I had nowhere to go in a hurry. I had nowhere to go in a hurry.
Nowhere to go. Yeah.
So once practice was over, pick up my helmet,
Yeah.
walk into the locker room.
You should be living in North Carolina right now then. If you ain't got
Everybody
nowhere to be, they don't either.
Everybody else is already in the locker room. I'm still walking across the parking lot.
I like it. I'm surprised Drum didn't eat your dinner.
All right, my question to you is,
Yes.
if you could only attend one of the sports at Syracuse, basketball or football, which one would it be?
Damn. Again, can't get me in trouble. If I could only attend one sport at Syracuse, basketball or football. If I could only go to one? You're answering for me.
Basketball. I'm answering for myself.
So I think, are you saying right now?
At any point in time, if you could only attend one.
God. As a kid, you guys balled out when I was a kid, and my dad took me to the football game. So I would say basketball now, football then. That's what I'll say.
I'll take that. I'll take
Okay.
that.
All right, Duke Pettijohn. What do I got for you? All right, Duke. I went food. Then I went, what would you change? So, all right, Duke, let's go here. What is, okay, if your teammates had to write a book about your life, what would they title it? And what would be the 3 chapters? First time I ever asked this one. You provoked this in me. I don't know what happened. I got possessed by something in that moment. It's already a move.
Relentless.
Relentless? Okay.
Yeah. And chapters. Chapter 1 would be.
What did he say? Killing him?
Yeah. No, chapter 1 would be loyalty.
Loyalty, okay.
Chapter 2 would be the journey.
Okay.
And the 3rd chapter would be the finish.
The finish. Loyalty, journey, and the finish. I like that. You got all time. I know. Yeah, no. You got thoughts, man. He's over there messing around.
That's a good one.
All right. What's your? What?
If you could interview anyone, past or present, who would it be and why?
Well, sports-wise, it would be Ernie Davis. I talked to Jim Brown, and Floyd Little and I, I always thought shaking his hand was like seeing a ghost. Like I thought it was like a ghost of Christmas past thing. Like every time I would just look at him and I'd shake his hand. I'm like, how are you real right now? But we became friends like the last 8 years of his life. And I mean, he did a video for my grandmother's 100th birthday. He knew my mom, he knew me, he knew my family, sat with my dad, sat with my cousin. Floyd, I remember sitting in parking lots, just picking up the phone. I was at the Destiny USA parking lot. I'm like, you know what? I owe Floyd a phone call, and I sit there and talk to him for 40 minutes on the phone. And like you, I ain't got nowhere to be. I'm on the phone with Floyd right now. I don't care about nothing else. And so I would say Ernie because I didn't get to talk to him, obviously. And I would also say Robin Williams because for all my comedy and that world in my life from 4 years old to now, Robin is a guy that my brain fires a certain way, and I love to talk to him about how do you get there, how do you fire that way, how do you come up with this stuff? Because I grew up just feeling comfortable doing anything on stage because he was afraid of nothing. First TV show I ever watched, live action, Mork and Mindy, Mrs. Doubtfire, yeah, all that. So. Yeah, definitely Robin Williams. And if you haven't checked out the documentary on HBO, what you think happened at the end of his life is actually not how it happened. And if you learn about his disease, that thing, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll get you. But if you like Robin Williams, you should watch his documentary for real.
One of my favorite movies is Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting.
And,
So with that being said, for Duke Pettijohn, James Mungro, Rob Carpenter, Rob Drummond, myself, Dan Tortora, for all of the Syracuse alumni that have found their way onto Wake Up Call, and for all the ones that will, and all the current players and future players, you're always welcome on Wake Up Call here at the Wildcat Sports Pub, and of course Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You listen on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, wakeupcalldt.com, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. So for all these gentlemen, find so much more on Facebook at wakeupcalldt, Twitter at calldt, and Instagram at wakeupcall_dt. For Danny Tome and the team at the Wildcat, Duke, Rob, Slow-mo, Drum, Duke, thank you so much. And I can't thank you enough. And you're the first, out of all the shows I've done and the 3,000 people on the show, you're the first people I broke out the leather couches for.
Oh, yeah.
So much love to all you guys.
Hey, thanks for having us. I
It's
appreciate
definitely
it.
needed.
Absolutely.
time.
What'd you say?
It's definitely needed.
Yeah, so thank you. And Rob, you already know. So we'll talk with you all soon. God bless. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.